Hello everyone, my name is Michelle, and today I'll talk about an interesting topic. But before we start, I would like to mention that if you notice something a bit strange with my voice, well, maybe it's I just got a cold, and well, I I'm just in case you notice something out of topic. But now let's get started. The topic is human versus animal communication. And first, let's talk about human communication, and it is the language. We use verbal and nonverbal language. For verbal communication, we can find that it's subdivided in written, that we can talk about, for example, newspapers, magazines, but also the different symbols that different languages use. For example, Japanese, Chinese, they use symbols to write. And oral, then we can talk about conversations and signed. Let's talk about the sign language because as we use different languages in different countries, there is a different way to express sign language in different countries. With this, I mean that there's not the same signals for example, here in Ecuador, they are not the same that are used in United States or in Japan or in Spain. Even having the same language, they can they can be totally different. Now let's talk about nonverbal communication. This can be facial expressions, body language, colors, and pictures. For this, I would like to emphasize the paralanguage because it's important in the nonverbal communication in humans. When we are talking, we are making expressions with our face, but also with our hands, with our body. And this it's what we use the most, even more than words or sentences, whatever. Because now, for example, just to put it simple, I am making expressions with my face. I am even making gestures with my hands, even if you don't see it, but I am doing it. Paralanguage is also the tone I am talking with, the pace of the speaking, everything that expresses something, expresses emotion, a message that it's not related with vocabulary or words is paralanguage. So we also communicate with colors. For example, when we are in a traffic signal and for example we see something red, we know that it's forbidden or that we must stop, and there is no text there, but we already know what's the meaning of that. And pictures, well, the best example I can give is the pictures I am using for this slide or for this whole presentation. They are representing what the nonverbal communication or what the communication is, just to have a better understanding of what I am explaining. Then we have animal communication. And okay, animals do not own a language, but they communicate through signals. They communicate through sounds. For example, the dogs can bark, the visuals, and A great example that I can think about is about when the male birds, well, some species of male birds show up their feathers in order to attract a female bird, and also chemicals like pheromones. They also use touch-based communication in their behavior. So with this stated, let's see what are the difference between humans and animals communication. First, we have that humans use language as a system. Meanwhile, animals only use communication through basic signals. Humans learn how to communicate thanks to the society or for cultural factors. Meanwhile, animals learn how to communicate because they need to survive. Humans use both verbal and nonverbal communication, but animals use only nonverbal communication. So, humans and animals have different purposes. I'm sorry, they have different purposes to learn how to communicate. Meanwhile, humans maybe learn how to communicate because they must express their feelings, their ideas, thoughts, etc. Animals maybe learn how to communicate to avoid a threat or to find a mate. So, as conclusions, we have that animals do not use language because language has a higher or a bigger meaning that it doesn't fit with the word. And of course, human communication is complex since we use a language. When we talk about language, we are talking about morphology, syntax, vocabulary, grammar, rules, and every single language around the world has different rules. So it's way more complex. Finally, I have the references I used for making this presentation. And finally, thank you for your attention.